If you aren't already familiar with C-Stick macro specials, I would really recommend to check out my Smash Corner's guide on it before watching this video. You can find the link to it in the description below. For this technique you will have to have tilt stick and preferably one shoulder button set to special, and actually in some cases a shoulder button set to jump. As we already know, we can turn around special by using the C-Stick simultaneously as inputting special. But if we flick the C-Stick, we get the wave bounce instead, or a so-called C-bounce like we had in Smash 4. And this works because when you flick the C-Stick, you override the left stick for less than 4 frames, depending on how fast you flick the C-Stick. But this is how it looks frame by frame. Like it's shown, it's important that you hold forward meanwhile flicking the C-Stick. In slow motion, the C-Stick overrides the left stick for fewer frames than it normally would. I just thought you should know, but that doesn't mean you can't use it for practice. When using this specific input, it allows us to get perfect momentum on the wave bounce. I will demonstrate the difference in distance by first inputting it manually as good as I can and then using the C-bounce technique. Another thing is that when using C-bounce, you will input the wave bounce in one action, instead of having to preemptively move the left stick. If your momentum is going backwards, the C-bounce input will give you a B reverse, but still with optimal mobility. If you input wave bounce like I do in the video here, it will immediately fire off Lucario's neutral special, though C-bounce prevents this from happening. This also applies to some other characters with neutral special that can be charged and fired off with the attack button. By using different angles on the C-Stick, you can C-bounce all kinds of special moves, except those that can't be B-reversed. C-bounce will also always result in a tilted side B, which otherwise can be quite tricky to perform in the heat of the battle. Like in Smash 4, C-bounce is interesting with Sheik. She basically gets an extra movement option when combining C-bounce with needle fidgeting. If you're not familiar with that technique or want to get more in-depth, I really recommend checking out Frenzy Light's video on needles. There's a link in the description below. The end lag to needle fidgeting is only 11 frames if done perfectly. And this is how it works with C-bounce. Let's break it down frame by frame. To do this technique, you will have to C-bounce needles and then cancel a charge by tapping shield on the 8th frame or later. You can hold shield to buffer the charge cancel, but then it's important to release the input between the 8th and 11th frame. If you hold it for longer, the shield will come out. You can also cancel the charge by pressing jump on the 8th frame or later. Getting down the timing for this can be quite tricky in the beginning. But like with every other difficult technique in Smash, you just gotta practice it slowly and get it into your muscle memory. Just like how my Smash Corner explains, we can buffer C-bounce out of a jump squat, in which case we will hold the C-stick instead of flicking it. Actually, Lucario gets decreased airspeed when buffering from a run, but if I do it during initial dash I will get full momentum. But this is character specific. I'll show a couple of examples. Lucas gets decreased airspeed when buffering C-bounce from both initial dash and run. But Sheik is the opposite and gets full airspeed from buffering C-bounce from both initial dash and from run. After some testing, it seems like characters with good ground speed often gets good momentum from buffering C-bounce. When you buffer out of walking, you will always get bad airspeed. But in those cases where you get decreased airspeed, you can just C-bounce normally instead, by waiting till you're airborne and flick the C-stick. Buffering C-bounce also applies to wall jump and tech jump. I think some characters can really benefit from this, especially Lucario. When you buffer a special move out of tech jump, you actually get more airspeed than normally, due to keeping the initial momentum from the tech jump throughout the whole special move. Actually, you can buffer C-bounce in the same way out of any animation. All you have to do is to make sure that you hold C-bounce 1 to 3 frames before the previous animation ends. And this applies to all animations. Once you get the hang of C-bounce, it opens up to multiple options that would normally be much more difficult to perform. Like wave bouncing a neutral special from a retreating jump. You input it almost like a normal C-bounce, just with an added like B-reverse motion after flicking the C-stick. This could be useful for characters with neutral specials that can be used for approaching. And maybe in some cases given an extra option to start a combo by getting extra frames due to improved mobility. The next two options that get easier with C-bounce is really niche or situational, but I thought I'll mention them anyway. The first one being fast fall into immediate wave bounce. I can see this potentially work as a landing mix-up or some kind of bait. The second option that gets easier is full hop into immediate wave bounce. This might have some use with platforms. There is an alternate way of performing C-bounce. You can do it by using attack Bido with tilt stick. I will demonstrate the inputs. With this way you don't have to flick the C-stick. First hold down the attack button, then you will preemptively hold the C-stick and then input special 1 to 3 frames later. This technique might be easier in itself, but I would not recommend this as it requires a lot of preparation. I will now go through the common mistakes when trying to practice this. When trying to C-bounce neutral special or down special, it won't work during initial dash. Instead, it will look like this. And this happens if you move the C-stick too late. And here I move the C-stick too early. And if I hold the C-stick too long, it looks like this. And this happens if you angle the C-stick the wrong way, assuming we're trying to do neutral special. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you found some of the information useful. As I'm really new to this, I would really appreciate some feedback in the comment section, so I can make the next video better than this one. And please stay tuned for more by either following me on Twitter or subscribing to this channel. My focus for now will be to complete this tech showcase series, in which I have at least 2 more videos left to release. And when I'm finished with that, I will keep releasing similar content. And with all that said, I hope to see you guys again. Until next time.